You know, for the longest time, the world of AI felt like a heavyweight boxing match, a brute force contest where the biggest model, the one with the most muscle, always won. Well, that era is over. The entire game has just changed, and it's changed in a big way.
The old rule was super simple, right? Just pile on more data, add more computing power, and poof, intelligence would just happen. It was a race for pure, raw size. Well, that rule, it's completely broken now. Because today, it's not about who's the biggest. It's about who's the smartest, the most efficient, and the most specialized for the job. The age of the giant, one-size-fits-all model is coming to an end. So in this new battlefield, three major players have stepped into the ring. Google's Gemini 3 Pro, OpenAI's GPT 5.1, and this incredible newcomer, DeepSeek V3.2. Each one has a totally different game plan for winning, and this is the story of their three competing visions for the future of intelligence itself.
So what does this new battlefield actually look like? Well, think of it this way. We've gone from a simple arms race for size to a really complex game of chess. The market's breaking apart, and now you have models being built for very specific missions, everything from deep, complex analysis to high-volume, super cheap tasks.
All right, let's meet our champions. Each one has a unique strategy, a unique technical advantage, and understanding their playbooks is really the key to seeing where this whole industry is going.
First in the ring, from Google, is Gemini 3 Pro. Its whole game is about being the absolute master of complexity. It doesn't just read text. It sees, it hears, and it understands the world through all these different data streams at the same time.
I mean, Gemini's goals here are just massive. It's built to swallow entire videos, huge code bases, or complicated financial reports all in one go. And that 1 million token context window, let's put that in perspective. Tokens are kind of like the words or pieces of words an AI thinks with. So 1 million of them, that's like handing it a whole library and saying, read all of this before you answer my next question. It's built for stuff that was literally impossible just a short while ago.
Okay, next up is OpenAI's GPT 5.1. Now, if Gemini is that creative, multi-talented genius, then GPT 5.1 is the super reliable, buttoned-up professional. Its entire strategy boils down to one simple, crucial word: trust.
What OpenAI is doing here is they're going all in on making AI something businesses can actually count on. Their main goal? To slash those hallucinations. You know, when the AI just makes stuff up. They've added stylistic controls, this cool adaptive framework that decides how hard it needs to think. It's all engineered for the real world, where a wrong answer or a weird tone can actually cause big problems.
And that brings us to our third champion, DeepSeek V3.2. This one is the wild card, the disruptor. It's here to completely flip the script on the economics of the whole game. Its goal isn't just to compete, it's to make top-tier intelligence an everyday commodity.
DeepSeek's strategy is as simple as it is brilliant. Make top-level AI so cheap it becomes like a utility, like turning on a light switch. They're releasing these incredibly powerful models with an open MIT license, and they're laser-focused on efficiency. Basically, they're handing developers the keys to the kingdom.
Okay, so how on earth do they pull off these totally different strategies? Well, it all comes down to what's under the hood, their architecture. This is where their grand philosophies get turned into actual code. So DeepSeek's secret sauce is something called a mixture of experts, or MO. Now think about it like this. Instead of having one single giant brain trying to solve every problem, it has this huge team of specialists, like 685 billion of them. When you ask a question, a smart router sends it to only the few experts who are perfect for that specific job. That's the key to its mind-blowing efficiency.
And for handling massive amounts of text, DeepSeek has another trick up its sleeve called DeepSeek Sparse Attention. Forget rereading a whole book to find one fact. This thing works like a super-powered index, jumping straight to the exact piece of information it needs, instantly. It's an absolute game-changer for speed and, of course, for cost.
But here's something really interesting. All three of these champions have run into the same fundamental problem. As one of our sources puts it, there's a thinking tax. And what that means is, deep, complex thinking is computationally expensive. It's easy to give a quick, simple answer, but getting a truly profound insight, that costs.
And you can see this thinking tax perfectly with GPT 5.1's system. If you ask it something easy, boom, it's about twice as fast. But throw out a really tough problem, something that requires genuine thought,
It actually slows down by about half because it's dedicating more brain power to getting it right. And it turns out all three of these models now have some kind of thinking mode to pay this tax.
All right, so we've got these different strategies, these different brains. How do they actually stack up against each other? Let's dive into the benchmarks and see who wins where.
Okay, first up is the GPQA Diamond benchmark. This is basically a PhD-level science exam. And look at this, Gemini 3 Pro is at the top of the class, showing off its raw intellectual horsepower. But check out DeepSeek. It's right up there, proving that its super efficient design doesn't mean it's sacrificing smarts.
But what about a real-world job, like coding and fixing bugs? On that test, GPT 5.1 takes the lead. This really doubles down on its identity as that reliable professional. It's just excellent at these kinds of structured, logical tasks. And again, look who's right there in its rearview mirror, DeepSeek.
Okay, but this number right here, this might be the most important one on the screen for any company out there. GPT 5.1 has a hallucination rate of just 0.7% on this benchmark. That's insane. This is its killer feature, really. It's a level of reliability that makes it the absolute safest bet when the stakes are high.
So performance is one part of the story, but the real story, the one that could literally change everything, it all comes down to the money. And this is where the underdog has a secret weapon.
Yeah, after all this talk about architectures and benchmarks, it really boils down to one question for most people. What does this amazing intelligence actually cost? And wow, the answer is just mind-blowing. To get 1 million tokens of output from Gemini 3 Pro on a complex task, you're looking at $18. GPT 5.1's thinking mode is in that same premium range. And then you have DeepSeek for 42 cents. I mean, that's not just a price difference, that is a market-shattering disruption.
Let that sink in. 42 times cheaper. That brilliant architecture we talked about, it completely changes the economics of what you can do with AI.
So what's the big takeaway here? It's that the question, which AI is the best, is now the wrong question. The real question is, which AI is the best for my specific job?
And this really breaks it all down. If you're working with video, audio, and mountains of documents all at once, Gemini 3 Pro is your champion, no question. If you're building an app for customers where accuracy is everything and you just can't afford a mistake, you're going to want the reliability of GPT 5.1. But if you need to churn through huge amounts of work and every penny counts, DeepSeek isn't just an option, it's the obvious choice.
And that leaves us with one last, really big question to chew on. DeepSeek is proving that the cost of top-tier intelligence can plummet towards zero. So, as that trend continues, what happens next? What becomes possible when world-class thinking is as cheap and as available as flipping on a light switch? That right there is the new AI arena.